I'd like to think that we're putting some really incredible information in the hands of our financial professionals, bringing them the latest and greatest, whether it be something we're getting questions about or a market that we want them to know about or tax reform. Maybe it's a Penn Mutual insight about where we are as a carrier, but really, truly a stacked deck when you look back at it.
Life Matters, a Penn Mutual podcast for financial professionals, bringing you life insurance insights from advanced sales experts and life insurance specialists. Grow a stronger practice today.
Welcome to another episode of Life Matters, a Penn Mutual podcast. I'm your host, Bill Bell, Vice President of Advanced Sales with Penn Mutual. And I am so pleased that you chose to join us here today. Now, for the second month in a row, I have a co-host, Jenna Washatka. Jenna, welcome back to the show. Thanks for co-hosting again.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, we hear from all of our listeners that when Jenna is on, the show gets just that much better. So we wanted to make sure that our listeners are listened to, that we take their feedback, we make sure that they know that they're being heard, and we wanted to have you back on. And it wasn't just because we needed a second voice on this podcast. It was because we absolutely are getting that positive feedback from our listening audience.
Your feedback matters.
Your feedback does matter. Now, this is a little different episode than what we've done in the past. So this is our last episode for 2025. It's going to be coming out right around the holidays. And what we thought we would do is do a look back at the 2025 podcast episodes and identify our favorite episodes, our favorite moments, and then what our marketing team has actually told us are most listened to podcast episodes. And it might actually surprise you in regards to which episodes were the most listened to here in 2025. I know it surprised me a little bit here, but we thought, why not do a look back? Why not celebrate the episodes we did here in 2025, share a little bit of more information, have a little more fun? What do you think about that idea, Jenna?
I think it sounds good. And you know what is also special about this episode, Bill, is this is episode number 25.
Congratulations to the Life Matters podcast and everybody that's involved. So, Jenna, what we decided to do and actually talk about our personal favorite episodes and our personal favorite moments. Now, we're going to do yours before the top 5, and then we're going to do mine after the top 5. So it's kind of like a 5 and 2 type of structure, or a 1-5-1. I guess if you were playing basketball defense, you got a couple of extra people on the court there. But that's the idea here is that we've got the bookends on either side of the 5. So let's start with you. What was your top moment from 2025, your favorite episode?
Yeah, this is an easy one, Bill. I mean, going all the way back to the month of March, when we like to celebrate Women's History Month, that was the episode called Closing the Gender Gap, Women Leading the Future of Finance. We had Kate Steestone and Claire Gallagher. They were so wonderful to talk to and had really amazing insights. It was very hard to pick a favorite moment, but I think, first of all, favorite moment from Kate was hearing her talk about the importance of just, as a female business owner, as a female in general, taking a time every year to just stop and really do some strategic planning on your business and on yourself, and recognizing that through that kind of taking of a break was really what led her to her very focused practice and having a very successful niche market. So I don't want to take away from the way that she put it. So let's roll the clip and listen to how Kate explained it. At one point you had mentioned something about having annual strategic time to work on your business.
Yeah.
And that has really stuck with me. And I think I kind of feel like that's the coolest idea I've heard in a long time, just to have, for anyone, to have annual strategic time to work on yourself and your business. What do you, can you shed a little bit more light on what that looks like for you and why that might be important for women business owners everywhere?
Oh, yes, because it's easy to get caught up, especially as women, we're doers. We want to get things done. And
100%.
You have to remember, that to step back and say, okay, let's look at the big picture and plan it out. So I belong to a couple of different masterminds where we actually can do annual planning. I highly recommend it. One of the ones I did this year that I really enjoyed, we actually were we had a small group of financial planners, but everybody else was different types of businesses. So you learn ideas and concepts that work in another business. It's like, didn't think about that. Everybody does it this way, but why? These are some other things that we can do and approach. So I highly recommend stepping back, looking at reviewing your business. What did we do well? What did we need to focus on? That's actually how we ended up making that shift away from a full service firm into really focusing on life insurance and the fixed assets, because we realized that's where our expertise was. And if we want to grow, they always say riches are in the niches, but it's like, I want to be excited about what I'm doing every single day.
Such an inspiring moment. Definitely a top moment for me. I think Kate, having that background as an MBA, having the business background, she really saw an opportunity as to where her expertise could help the most people. So I love hearing her explain that. Second, kind of a two-part one for Claire. The first was her talking about her favorite kind of comfort food being a hug in a mug or a cup of tea. I cannot say it in the way she did, but it was so delighted because she did actually send me some Irish tea after this episode, along with some Cadbury chocolate, which I would be having right here, except the entire box of both is gone. But take a listen to Claire. And also, I think I love the clip of Claire talking about the importance of encouraging her clients to take steps in their financial freedom. She said something along the lines of even 1% a day is going to get clients in a better place. But again, I want you to hear it in her words. Is there like an Irish comfort food or song or something that like whenever you hear it or like it just brings you back and reminds you of home?
For me, definitely tea is something that I gravitate to just like a hug and a mug nearly.
Okay, totally out of left field. What is, and you don't have to use any names, but is there like a moment that you had with a client that really stuck with you and you were like, this is why I do the work that I do? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot, if I'm honest with you. I think that the most simplest of things is a thank you, and I think that is such those are underrated words that people, I guess, tend to think of when you help somebody. So for me, getting a thank you, it's very fulfilling for me. But also, I enjoy getting to know people. I enjoy developing a relationship with people. And I think that obviously the most important thing is I had one particular situation where I had a client that unfortunately got cancer after we had put some planning in place. And he was very fortunate to obviously have had some of the planning in place. Obviously, we didn't foresee that this was going to happen. Thankfully, now this particular client is in remission, but we're very fortunate that we were able to put that certain planning in place. So my biggest thing is we all tend to live life putting things on the long finger. And I think that try to just remember that if you can do something today or even 1% more today, that you'll be in a better place for your future self. I think that's definitely something that I try to tell my clients.
That was a great episode, Jenna. I loved that episode. Kate and Claire are two of my absolute favorite people in the industry. We get lots of emails and phone calls from our financial professionals, but when I see Kate or Claire's name pop up on an email or a caller ID, it always makes me happy because I just know it's going to be a fun conversation and something that I'm going to thoroughly enjoy. Not that I don't enjoy every phone call and every email that I get from a financial professional, but they are certainly two of my favorites. All right. Like I said, we're going to examine my favorite moment here at the end of our countdown. But what do you say we get to that marketing countdown and see who actually had the most listened to, most downloaded episode of 2025?
Let's do it. And we're starting with number 5. So it's a true countdown, right, Bill?
That is correct. We are going from 5 to 1 here. So at number 5, you might remember that earlier this year, Penn Mutual launched AMP, the Accelerated MultiLife Platform. And I know it got a lot of people amped, including myself. I don't want to speak for you, Jenna, but were you also amped at that time?
We were all amped up. I mean, truly, Jennifer says it best in the episode. She talks about how for experts in this space, we might just be bringing you the solution you've been waiting for. I love that. So yeah, to say we're all amped up is an understatement.
So we actually had 3 guests on that episode. We had Michael Ori and Justin Gladio from Institutional Architects. And then, as you mentioned, Jennifer Ortal, who's our VP of MultiLife. And just a great overall episode, a great interview, or 2 great interviews, I should say, and a lot of information in regards to MultiLife and the AMP system. In fact, why don't we hear a little bit now from Jennifer Ortal in regards to what AMP is and what it does? First of all, what does AMP stand for, and what is it, and what will it do?
So I'm pretty fired up as well. AMP means Accelerated MultiLife Platform. And what we've done is we've built a digital, electronic, intuitive experience for the implementation of executive benefit plans or multi-life plans. So on the front end of AMP, you have LSI, our Life Illustrator. And on the back end, you have Insight, where you can see cash values, etc. So all 3 systems are rolling together for one very good experience.
So a fully integrated electronic experience. Would it be fair to say it is a paperless experience?
It's a paperless experience for multiple parties that are involved in a sale like this. So it's paperless for the participants who are enrolling via the AMP platform. It's paperless for financial professionals who can do a lot of things electronically, case related. And it's also electronic for our policy owners, our corporate signers, those that need to fill out paperwork. That experience is electronic for all parties, which I think is a very unique proposition for this marketplace. Pretty excited about that.
I have to say, this episode also wins a special Jenna Washatka sub award, which is funniest moment. And that was the description of hot trash, the hot trash smell in New York City. That was a good moment.
You know, you can't really describe what that smell is unless you experience the hot trash smell of New York in the summertime. I mean, in fairness to the city, there's 8 million people that live on an island, and there's just a lot of trash. And in the summer, it gets hot and it smells like hot trash. So I would agree that was a very funny moment. There were a lot of funny moments in 2025, but that one was particularly funny. You want to queue up our number 4 episode?
Yeah, absolutely, Bill. And this was another personal favorite, probably a close tie for, I guess, second place for me. But number 4 on our list is episode 22, and that's special needs planning, what every financial professional must know. And that featured our very own Pat Bergmeyer, who is with 1847 Financial. I think that this is such a great clip because Pat explains what makes this market different. And I think it just sets the stage for what ended up being, I think, one of the best intros into this market in general, and certainly an episode that I have shared with the field a lot. So without further ado, let's hear it in Pat's own words. What are some of the key differences from a financial planning perspective when you're working with a family of a child with special needs?
That's a great question. And I think I can put it in perspective, Jenna. You and I are both parents, right? We want to live a long life. We want our kids to live many decades beyond us. When you have a child with a disability, these parents, it's like a 180-degree paradigm shift. They want to live one day longer than their kids because their biggest worry is what happens to them, who takes care of them when me as the parent, I'm not the one here to do it. So I think that was the biggest eye-opening thing for me when I started talking to these parents. Also, it's more the legacy side of things. It's not hey, it would be nice to leave money behind to my kids. Like some parents will navigate the retirement planning. If they leave money behind, great. If not, they're more focused on the retirement income, which is fine. In special needs planning, the legacy is a necessity. You've got somebody that's going to be relying on these parents to some extent for the rest of their life. The parents need to leave money behind to fund these vehicles that are going to continue providing for the quality of life for these individuals. So I think that changes everything textbook financial planning wise that we've been taught, even as CFP practitioners, on managing somebody's retirement and their goals.
This was the episode that I probably got the most out of personally. as you know, Jenna, I'm not what I would call a special needs expert. I know a little bit, certainly not anywhere near the depth of knowledge of you or especially Pat. But I certainly had some takeaways around that. I think one of my personal ones was kind of that people first language in regards to never referring to a person with special needs as like a special needs blank. You always put the person first. So rather than special needs child, you would say child with special needs, and how important that is. And I never even thought about that before that episode. So a lot of great information there, a really important topic, and kind of an area of specialization for us at Penn Mutual in the advanced sales area. I've shared this with a number of our audience members in the past, but I was at a big conference earlier this year, and there was a breakout session on special needs planning. And one of the people basically said that Penn Mutual's advanced sales team is really the only team that does special needs right. So I don't want to degrade anybody else's special needs knowledge in regards to their advanced planning areas, but I think that we do have a real expertise there. And you and Jay and everybody else that kind of works on that really helps to drive that forward and be a real resource for financial professionals in that marketplace.
Yeah, I think that really speaks to the caliber of financial professionals that we have in that study group. Really some incredible individuals that have taken the time to learn about the market, attend the conferences, get the designations, really dig their heels into that market and make it as Pat puts it, it's certainly not an area that they dabble in, but an area that they have expertise in. So, yeah, I'm fortunate to work with some really amazing financial professionals in that space. And I do think that is a differentiator for Penn Mutual.
So, Jenna, did you know that we had a first here in 2025 in regards to Life Matters, a Penn Mutual podcast?
I did. This is the second timer on the podcast, right? Or if I'm getting the math right?
You are correct. So we had our first two-time guest, and I'm going to put a little proviso on that. It was our first two-time guest that didn't work for Penn Mutual. This was our first two-time outside guest. We had Jen Fox from Fonseca, who's amazing. She's their VP of Federal Affairs, on twice this year to talk about tax reform. Obviously, that was a huge topic in 2025, something that drove a lot of conversation. We had a tax bill that was signed into law on July 4th. And so we had Jen on in both January and July to talk about prospective thoughts in regards to tax reform and then what actually happened. And our number 3 episode, as far as downloads go, was her second appearance on the podcast, which was an episode called What Tax Reform Really Means for the Life Insurance Industry. Jen talks a whole lot in that episode in regards to the actual provisions, what went into the decision-making associated with the actual bill itself and so forth. So let's hear a little clip from there in regards to what happened with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, aka the Triple B, aka HR1, bottom line, tax reform. Let's hear it. I think the industry as a whole very much considers HR1 a win or the Triple B a win. Is it really just because of the fact that we weren't used as a pay for it for the first time in 4 decades? Is it because of the provisions themselves? What's the official word from Fonseca in regards to why we should be running a victory lap right now?
I think the biggest thing, Bill, is as you think about what we measure ourselves against, is we have a specific focus. This bill was 1,000 pages long. There's a lot in there, and there's a lot of probably things that could be concerning to any one person at any one time. But as we think about what we were measuring ourselves against, what our core priorities are, this is absolutely a win for this profession and for this industry. No new taxes on this profession for over 40 years is incredible. But you think about what that number looks like. Ken Keyes, who is now the Assistant Secretary of Tax over Treasury, said what's been levied on this business is almost $500 billion over the last 20 or so years. So for that not to happen, incredible. Some of the other provisions, opportunities to make them permanent and sustainable, key and crucial, which I know we'll get into, but also opportunities for us to look at this a little bit differently.
I loved having Jen Fox on the show. She is great. No offense to anybody else at Fonseca because we love them all, but she's just a superstar, just so much high energy and so much inside knowledge in regards to how these bills are put together, kind of the horse trading that goes on behind the scenes, what's really important, how Fonseca gets involved. Just a great person to have on the podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed both interviews. I thought this second one was even better than the first, and something that I think that our listeners probably got a lot out of in regards to just both substantive information and then just kind of the entertainment value associated with the podcast.
Yeah. One thing I really appreciate about Jen is I really don't want to know what her calendar looked like that July from a meeting perspective, but she made time to come and be interviewed and be on the podcast in what was probably an unbelievably busy season, and just helped us really get out ahead of getting information out, getting the context and really the on the ground information that our financial professionals needed. It helped us really craft our quick turnaround response to the Triple B. I know that it's important for us as an advanced sales team to get content out there quickly, and she helped us with that during what I'm sure was an extremely busy month.
Yeah, you want to talk about kind of an insider's insider. I mean, Jen Fox is in the halls of Congress, kind of beating on doors and making sure that our voices are heard in the different offices for Congress people and senators. And obviously, it really paid off this time around, because I think that we got a best case scenario outcome from a tax reform perspective from an industry standpoint.
Yeah, definitely. A major win for the industry, and Fonseca was at the forefront of that.
So before we get on to number 2 here, Jenna, as we think back to the 4 podcasts that we've already referenced, anything that comes to mind as you're thinking about them that's stood out to you, any special moments that you'd like to kind of reshare at this point?
I think I'm looking at the stacked deck of guests that you had on the podcast this last year. It is truly remarkable the amount of talent and content. I always get excited when the episode comes out every month, but I'd like to think that we're putting some really incredible information in the hands of our financial professionals, bringing them the latest and greatest, whether it be something we're getting questions about or a market that we want them to know about or tax reform. Maybe it's a Penn Mutual insight about where we are as a carrier, but really, truly a stacked deck when you look back at it.
Yeah, we had an amazing lineup here in 2025. Going back to the podcasts that we've already talked about, I don't want to give short shrift to the MultiLife podcast because we talked about it and it being number 5, but that one actually probably from just a initial engagement perspective got tons of comments and tons of feedback to us. We had a lot of people reaching out to us saying, hey, we didn't even know that this was the market that Penn Mutual was going to be in. And so they were really excited to hear about it. But you're right. I mean, people that didn't end up in this top 5 list, they all got lots of listenership in regards to downloads and so forth. So if you were on the show and you didn't hear your name in the top 5, please do not feel offended. You got lots of downloads. So rest assured there. We had great listenership here in 2025, and hopefully that continues here in 2026.
And I think right before this episode, we were just in a meeting where we were looking at the actual numbers of downloads, and they were all extremely close from the number 1 downloaded episode to the number 12. I mean, we're talking difference of, in some cases, maybe the difference of 50 downloads. So very, very close numbers, but we had to cut it somewhere. So
that is correct. We decided to do a top 5. If we did a top 11, it would be pretty boring because that would be all 11 episodes for 2025 here. We always love to hear from our listeners. So if you have a particular moment that you'd love to highlight or share, the comment section of the YouTube video is actually open. And so you can certainly comment here on the YouTube page if you're watching on YouTube. You can leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcast. Or you can send us an email to lifematters@pennmutual.com. We'd love to hear from you in regards to what your favorite moments were in 2025.
yeah, in fact, Bill, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but Bill did say before we started recording that if you left a comment on the YouTube channel about your favorite episode, he would personally send you his curated playlist of 90s industrial metal, which, I mean, Bill, cannot be valued on the marketplace.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, if you are a fan of Pantera or Ministry or White Zombie, this is a playlist that you will not want to miss. So leave a comment, send me an email saying, hey, I submitted a comment, and I will send you that playlist. I promise.
We will hold you to that, Bill. All right, so this one is another Jenna Washatka sub-award winner. This is the episode that I have shared the most with colleagues, and that is episode 23, Why Management Services Organizations, or MSOs, Can Be a Game Changer for Business Owners, with Alex Jones. And the reason I've shared this so much is because I get questions all the time about MSOs, what they are, who they might be appropriate for. I thought it was a very good and succinct conversation about, first of all, what MSOs are from a high level and a technical standpoint, but then also recognizing that they're not for everyone and really explaining kind of what the right market opportunity might be for an MSO. So, yeah, let's hear it from Alex Jones.
What is an MSO? So an MSO is a new entity that you open up. It's like another company within your enterprise. And that new entity has the sole purpose of providing administrative support and services back to your operating company. That's it. Now, because you own both companies and because you're actually performing services, it allows your firm to be able to deduct money as a management fee in an operating company, and it become taxable income to the management entity. So that's a unique characteristic when you own both companies in a control group. And that's where really the tool has a lot of uses because of that characteristic.
If I wanted to just summarize what you said, basically, if I own a company or several companies and I wanted to kind of consolidate the management of those individual companies, I might establish an MSO basically to provide that function for me. And so, and then what my operating companies pay to that MSO are potentially deductible to my operating companies. It's taxable then to the MSO. So it's not like you're avoiding taxes necessarily. It's just that you're providing services through another organization. You have a deduction on one part, you have a tax on another part. However, I think that one of the primary benefits that we see in a lot of those circumstances is the MSO is generally taxed as a C corporation. Do I have that correct?
That is correct, Bill. And beyond the deductibility of revenue, the other main benefit of a MSO is it protects assets. That's why they were originally created.
So you heard it there from Alex. And I think one of the other things, we certainly can't go into all of it. This is a clip episode, so it's a shortened version of the podcast. But one of the things that I also really appreciated was the conversation about how life insurance fits into MSO planning, whether that be for wealth preservation, whether it be part of a split dollar or deferred comp. I thought that was a really nice discussion. So yeah, if you're interested in MSOs or you've heard about MSOs, you really won't want to miss that episode.
All right. Are we ready for number one?
I don't know that we will ever be ready, Bill.
All right. Well, I'm ready for number one here. So this one is one that I took a victory lap on because there was an argument between myself and our marketing overlords in regards to the topic and the content on whether or not it was going to be popular or not. And it was our most popular episode of the year. So I definitely took the W there. So W for me on that one. And it was with my friend Jonathan Forrester, who is a partner at Baker Hostetler, a legend in the estate planning industry. So, you know, nerds like me, you say to somebody, Jonathan Forrester, it's like, oh, it's a name that's held in reverence. People that are not in the kind of the high end estate planning marketplace might not know who he is. But, you know, that episode, which was called You Won't Believe How Death Taxes Impact Your Wealth, got the most downloads of any episode that we did in 2025 here. And what Jonathan was really talking about is kind of how estate planning looks in this current marketplace and how it's changed with time and how things look now that we have this higher estate tax exemption. And Jonathan talked about things like flexibility and higher interest rate environment. I mean, it was a really great conversation. But again, I knew it would play really well just because I knew Jonathan. He's such a big name in the industry. And I thought it was a great episode. And, you know, the numbers don't lie. If you believe in math, it was our most popular episode. And I believe in math. So why don't we hear a little bit from Jonathan here in regards to what's going on in the estate planning marketplace? Probably 3 or 4 times a year, I'll get a call from a financial professional and say, hey, I'm working with a client and I'm having a real tough time working with their attorney because the attorney either doesn't believe in life insurance or they just think that they can document the problem away in regards to estate planning. How do you work with financial professionals so that they know that that's not going to be an issue, that you want life insurance to be part of that? And what advice would you give to financial professionals that do run into that situation? Because I think it's more common than a lot of people think.
No, it's extremely common. I mean, I've been at, 2 major law firms during my career, and I can tell you both of them had very large, private client practices, 50 and north in terms of individual professionals. I can also tell you that you could count on half of one hand the number that had dealt with life insurance matters. I mean, significant, split dollar, intergenerational split dollar. Many of them actually thought split dollar was dead and it is no longer even viable to this day. And so part of it is there's just not been the type of training in the legal space as there probably should have been. And unfortunately, the handful of us that are left are not getting any younger. And, then the question becomes, who involves, because that's really critical. It's really important that you have professionals that are simpatico with your planning. Otherwise, it's really, a huge headwind to get things done. So number one, but again, you walk into a case, Bill Bell's the lawyer, no disrespect to Bill, but he hates life insurance. He never saw a life insurance case he liked, doesn't even like the industry, thinks it's too much. And so then I guess to my mind, at least, you talk to the client about what I said before. Listen, there's a diversification of these tools, no different than there's a diversification of your portfolio. You don't want to rely on any one tool to produce the result you want, right? I mean, you have no idea what the market's going to do, to your point, over 4 decades. You have no idea if you're going to outlive the terms on this series of grants or charitable lead trusts, which all will not only come back into your estate, but with the charitable lead annuity trust, you'll also reverse the income tax and you'll owe dollars and cents. And so this really offsets all of those planning modes, number one. Number two, if you are highly liquid, it does not matter. If you passed away in 2007 and had to pay with 2008 or 2009 dollars that tax bill, you paid with 50-cent dollars, and the market's probably gone up 400% since that date and time. So you really pay. You paid more estate tax than maybe anybody I know. You paid 400% on that nugget. And so I would tell you that liquidity is always king. You never know what's around the corner. You never know when markets are going to change. And you should make sure you have some liquidity available regardless of what you think the circumstances are relative to this moment in time. And that's usually the conversation I have.
So, Jenna, was it a surprise that Jonathan was the number one episode in your mind?
I don't think so. I think, we like to pride ourselves on our episodes being, good dog walking content or like good for if you're you've got a long drive, bookmark this episode. But this one, I've actually told people specifically, you will want to be within reach of either a keyboard or a pen and paper because it was so dense with fantastic content, but it's content you want to write down as you're going. So, yeah. And in fact, I actually, another sub award, and that's for the coolest phrase, which is regratting the annuity, which is a phrase that I wrote down from this episode and had to go look up. But yeah, it's just a ton of content. And one of the things I thought was very refreshing is he talked about the importance of flexibility in modern estate planning, which we hear about a lot, but he was one of the first people that I've heard talk about the importance of also recognizing the risks with flexibility and not wanting to swing the pendulum too far and recognizing that there is kind of a down the middle approach when it comes to estate planning and flexibility. So I thought that was a very refreshing perspective to hear from him.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just to clarify, you said regratting the annuity, not regretting it, correct?
Regratting, Grat. Although I suppose there's perhaps a pun there as well.
Yeah, nobody regrets a Penn Mutual annuity, but maybe some other
No.
carriers.
All right, Bill, we have made it all the way to the end of the top 5 episodes for 2025. Now, you promised listeners that you would share your favorite moment/episode from the year. So I know everyone's waiting with bated breath. Please tell us, Bill, what was your favorite moment from the year?
Yeah. So this is my bookend. And this was an easy choice for me because it was the last episode that we did where we had questions from our audience, which I love, and all of our team members from the advanced sales team on an episode that was officially called 2026 Planning Questions from the Field, uh, unofficially known as the future of advanced planning or something along those lines.
Or the mailbag episode, the mail.
Yeah, but bottom line is if people are looking through their queue, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Simplecast, wherever you get your podcasts, it will be the episode before this one. It will be November of 2025. And we had a lot of great questions for our teammates, Jenna. But one I thought was really interesting was advanced sales Jedi Master Amy Bryant talking about what she does best, which is high-end estate planning techniques, and specifically spousal lifetime access trust slats, and what people can do to kind of minimize risk associated with that. So let's hear what Amy has to say about slats. So we got a question, Amy, from Marty in Pennsylvania. And his question was, a lot of his clients are interested and or have used spousal lifetime access trusts, aka slats, in the past, and they're considering them now. But Marty's heard that there have been some issues with people getting in trouble with using slats. And so what he wants to know, what are some of the best practices to make sure that clients don't have challenges using slats going forward?
Okay, so I love that question, Marty. Thank you so much for asking it because we see this all the time. And the fact that you're asking the question means that you're probably guiding that client down the right path. So kudos to you. I would say top 3 issues with slats. First, it's the role of trustee. Second, quid pro quo. And third would be eggs in one basket. So to go through those, the first, as trustee, we often see the beneficiary spouse as the sole trustee. And that's a problem. And we've seen an uptick in that, and I'm not really sure why that is. But the problem there is if the beneficiary spouse, now this is the spouse who has access to the assets in the trust. The purpose of the trust typically is to keep assets out of the estate, right? Well, if you have access and you control those assets, that pulls it into the estate. So that's a problem. The second, the quid pro quo, this is where you see, the husband sets up a trust for the wife and the wife sets up a trust for the husband. They're both identical slats. We violate reciprocal trust doctrine, which is, big fancy legal talk for you just blew it. You just unwound that entire thing. So, that's a problem. Timing is an issue. Work with an attorney that understands this. And provisions are an issue too. You can't just tweak one little clause in a trust and say, there you go, it's not a mere trust anymore. And then third, eggs in one basket. I've seen some clients who want to put all of their assets in this one trust because they like the asset protection part of it. And you can't do that. If you do that, think about it. As the grantor, you put all of your assets in that trust. What if down the road, let's say 10, 20 years down the road, she decides she doesn't like you anymore? Well, you don't have access to those trust assets anymore in the event of a divorce. So that's a problem.
All right. And we have a special bonus on this one, too. So, in addition to asking actual questions to our team members, Jenna, we let you be real creative and come up with some fun questions for our team members. And we didn't tell people in advance what those questions were going to be. But there was one in particular that stood out to me. I mean, We asked Bruce about Star Wars movies. We asked Jay about motorcycle rides. We asked Lindsay about her ability to pack an entire wardrobe inside of a carry-on. But my personal favorite was when we asked Amy about the giant pencil in Minneapolis and the celebration of sharpening that pencil once a year. Let's check out that clip and then we will rejoice in its majesty. So, Jenna happened to hear that in Minneapolis, where you live, the land of ice and snow, that there is this massive 20-foot tall pencil that everyone gets together each year to sharpen. And it's a big party. So, first of all, is this real? Have you ever been? And what are we missing out on?
Yes, it's real. No, I've never been because I've got better things to do. Um, and you're missing out on the shortening of a pencil. That's about it.
Seems kind of life-changing. I don't know.
So, you're saying it's not fascinating enough that we should have a team meeting in Minneapolis?
For the pencil sharpening. I don't know.
No, but that actually did make news this year because this pencil is starting to get a little short. And they're like, what are we going to do?
That's probably how I heard about it.
Is it a Ticonderoga pencil?
I don't know about that, but it's a number 2.
And Bill, the good news is that to my knowledge, everyone on the team is still friends with me. And if they're not, they aren't telling me. So I think I have survived coming up with the fun questions. But no, Amy's amazing. I mean, one of the things I love about Amy is she takes the complex and makes it so simple. She's just, and I think that takes an incredible amount of skill to be able to do that with something as complicated as slats. But yeah, the giant pencil might live in infamy among our team.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still trying to work out the logistics on how we can have our next team meeting in Minneapolis around the sharpening of the pencil. It might be a little challenging because it looks like they do that sharpening on a Saturday. So it would be tough to do, but maybe we'll go on the following Monday and see if there's any leftover shavings or anything that we can grab up and frame and make into a departmental memento. But, again, my favorite episode. And I think what you said about Amy applies to everybody on the team, taking the complex and trying to make it as simple as possible. We work with some really sophisticated planning techniques. And if we can't communicate them to financial professionals in a way that's understandable so that they can explain them to their clients, we're not really doing our job. And I think that our team, more so than anybody in the industry, does a really good job of that. So if you haven't reached out to the members of the advanced sales team in regards to your questions in regards to estate planning, business planning, retirement planning, or so forth, I would encourage you to do so by emailing us at advancedsales@pennmutual.com. So, Jenna, any final thoughts in regards to our list here today before we go?
No, 25 feels good. I'm ready for the next 25.
Absolutely. Well, we will certainly be back in January with, we have a great slate of guests already lined up for 2026. I guarantee that you as our listeners will certainly appreciate who we bring on the show here next year, but we cannot thank you enough for listening in 2025 and 2024 beyond that. We want to thank all of our guests that took time out of their incredibly busy schedules to be on the show here in 2025. And again, if you haven't subscribed to the show, if you haven't checked out the YouTube channel, I would encourage you to do so. In fact, let me do my closing remarks here. So if you have a question for me or for Jenna or anybody else associated with the show, we have a special mailbox. I referenced it earlier. It's lifematters@pennmutual.com. That's a special mailbox that only goes to me. And I do answer every single question that goes there or forward it on to the appropriate person. So make sure that you do that. If you do have a question about anything that you heard on this episode or any other, again, that's lifematters@pennmutual.com. I don't know how many times we talked about the YouTube channel, Jenna, during this episode. Was it 5 times? Was it 6 times? Was it 10 times? It was a lot.
I don't have an answer for you, Bill. I'm just kind of waiting for you to pick it back up.
Well, anyways, it was a lot of time. It was a lot of times. For those of you that have not checked out the YouTube channel, there are no excuses anymore. It's been out there for quite a while. There's a lot of great content there. There's a lot of videos in regards to the new refreshed ACE that people are watching. There's the Bite Sites and Life Insurance Insights show that I host. There's episodes of this podcast. If you want to see Amy answer the question in a visual form when we ask about the giant pencil, go to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe, like the videos, comment on them. It's a great way to consume the content. It's a little different, obviously, from a podcasting perspective to see the host rather than just hear them. Speaking of subscribing, if you haven't subscribed to the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or both, please do so today. That way you don't miss any future episodes of the show. And then finally, if you are a subscriber on Apple Podcasts, stop by and leave us a review. Reviews help to boost visibility of the show. A star review only takes a second. If you write a written review, not only will I send you that playlist of 90s industrial metal, but I will also send you a 1970s early heavy metal playlist as well. That's 2 playlists for the price of 1. If you just stop by the Apple Podcast app and leave us a written review, you will not be saddened by the playlists that I send to you. So for Jenna Washatka, I'm Bill Bell. Thanks again for joining us, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right, Bill, I have an Easter egg question for anyone who stayed with us this long. So in honor of the 25th anniversary of the podcast, 25th episode, if you could describe this podcast using only 3 emojis, which ones would you use?
Oh, it would just be 3 horns.
And you're referring to like the rock horns, right?
Yes, that's correct. The Ronnie James Dio horns.
The Bill Bell standard. So if you make it this far and that's in your comment, we'll know you listened to the Easter egg portion of the episode.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update.